In England, archaeology is just about everywhere. Across the hills, forests, fields, and even our towns. I live in Ramsgate, a small port on the Isle of Thanet, which is East Kent. It's where the English, the Angles, the Saxons, similar Germanic peoples, arrived sometime about 1500, 1600 years ago. The archaeological sites being highlighted here are all within 5 minutes easy walking of my front door, and we'll be taking a look at one of them. Anglo-Saxon remains found at Ramsgate. This is a report by the archaeologist H.E. Boulter in 1933 to a local journal. It reads, "An interesting discovery was made at Ramsgate during September 1932 by some workmen who were engaged in digging a trench for the purpose of laying an electric cable at the junction of Station Approach Road and Park Road. They had cut into the footpath close to a high bank at the side when some foot or so beneath the surface, in the chalk, they came across what they at first thought were curiously shaped pebbles or small stones. Digging further, they came across what were undoubtedly human leg bones. It was then realized that the pebbles were the small bones of a foot. Digging carefully, they managed to uncover the lower portion of a human skeleton, the upper part being evidently under the bank. The police were informed, and under the instructions of Inspector Baldwin, this part was also excavated, other bones being discovered. The skeleton was not complete, portions of the skull and arms etc. being missing. The bones found include the legs, backbone, part of the skull and ribs etc. Near the remains was a small iron knife. Mr. H. Hurd, the engineer to the Broadstairs and St. Peter's Urban District Council, who is an authority on Anglo-Saxon discoveries, is of opinion that what has been unearthed are undoubtedly from an Anglo-Saxon burial place. The fact that the bones were laid with the head to the northwest, with the feet in the opposite direction, as was characteristic of Anglo-Saxon burials, and the small blade, to his mind, definitely proves this. This blade was what was known as a wattle knife, which was a necessity in those days to clear away in entangled undergrowth when the ground was densely forested. A small portion of glass was also found, but this was unfortunately lost in the act of clearing. Mr. Hurd thinks there is a possibility of other remains being found, and has appealed to builders and their men to use care when digging operations are being carried on in this neighbourhood. He approximates the date of the burial as about the year 670. Not far away in the Broadstairs district, similar remains have been found when excavations have been made. Here is the embankment which the workmen dug out. Today it's just a garden wall and a path running along a road. To get some idea of what the Ramsgate site may have looked like originally, here is one I prepared earlier. This site is along the coast, the other side of Dover, and notice the sea axe lying across the chest. In both locations, the interment was on top of a hill. On the site near Dover, the interment was associated with a series of Bronze Age tumuli along the slope. Saxons were newcomers, and they wanted to associate their cemeteries, their burials, with the sacred, and these were, obviously to them, the Bronze Age tumuli. We may therefore suggest that, under the road and gardens in Ramsgate, there could be an entire Saxon cemetery, just as we found near Dover.